Hey, how's it going, guys? Cheers, 17. Welcome to yet another episode of Homebrew Weekly. Good to be here. This is supposed to be a vlog, so I'm not going to do backflips or necessarily do anything exciting during these videos. They're just updates. That's really all they were intended to be in the first place when this whole concept was invented. So this week, I'm just going to talk about a couple things. But first of all, very, very important, I want to say hello to my neighbor's friend, Brayson. Hey, Brayson! Yep, Brayson, he's a sweet little guy, and it's her grandson, and he likes to watch my cooking videos. So guess what that means? I got to do more cooking videos. Yeah, so that will happen. I'm not gonna talk about my kitchen and the fact that it's half painted. I'll just put that out there because that's why I haven't shot anything in the kitchen for a while. We were making decisions, and yeah, you know how things sometimes get put on the back burner. So it's kind of, in limbo, but that will be fixed. So what am I drinking? Well, I'm on a homebrew holiday, meaning I don't have any homebrew, unfortunately. Bottomed out the keg last night, so I had to go and buy just regular store-bought beer. I don't care to show the brand. I'm not getting paid for anything, but this is the cheapest beer I can find. This is a tall can. It's such a bright light. I got to get this. What is it? 6% alcohol. How much is in this can? Well, it's a tall can, whatever. I don't know where. Anyway, waste our time. It's a tall boy, kind of a tall boy. Anyways, 18 of these is about $37, and it's the cheapest beer I can buy. As far as store-bought piss water beer, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. And for the first time since these homebrew updates videos that I do, I'm drinking it out of a can. Normally I pour beers, and I never redneck it like this, but we had no water this morning, and I was trying to find a glass, and all my beer glasses are, they're not clean. So I couldn't use any water, so whatever. They just turned it on now, but it's too late. Too late, baby, now it's too late. So anyway, that's what I'm doing there. I was watching a video on YouTube, and I try to scour around a little bit and, catch as many homebrewers videos as I can. I don't comment or do anything, but I like to watch other people's stuff. DIY, oh shoot, I should have wrote the name down. DIY Homebrewer? I think that's the name. If it's not, I'll put it on the screen. I happened to be watching one of their videos. They were talking about infections. And I thought this might be a good opportunity to give them a shout out, and also, talk a little bit about infections and how you know you've got one, because they talked about this. Beer is infected. There's no two ways about it. That's what it is. It is an infected batch of, fermented sugary juice. That's what it is. And you infect it with the yeast that you put in. That's a controlled infection. There's always yeast floating around in the air. And I know a lot of you experienced homebrewers know all this, but I'm kind of I try to get all the new people involved and get them learning so that they can get up to speed. So, sorry about this if you already know all this stuff, but I can get out my periodic table and start explaining elements if you want, but I don't think that's appropriate. So, as soon as you put the beer in the fermenter, it's getting infected. Of course it is. Yeast floating around in the air, mildew, mold, whatever stuff, and that's what makes food go bad. But when you put your yeast in, that kind of sets up it takes over, and other yeasts are not able to survive. I'm not sure if it's because the yeast that you put in eats that yeast because it's in a minority. I'm not sure, but That's why they always say pitch your yeast as soon as you can after your wort is at the right temperature. Although I have been known to leave it overnight with the airlock on without the yeast, and it's been fine pitching the next morning. I wouldn't recommend that, but I've done it a few times and there's been no problem. Probably in the summer months, maybe it wouldn't be such a good idea because it's warmer. Not sure. But as soon as you pitch the yeast, it says, okay, this is mine. This is my food. You get out of there, you know. So, but it does happen that you get an infection. Now, sometimes an infection can be mild, and the beer just might taste a little bit different than it normally tastes. There's a strain of yeast that got in there that, you know, pooped out all the wrong flavors, I guess, and that's what sometimes happens. Bottling beer is riskier than kegging it, in the way that it depends on how you sanitize your bottles. When I used to bottle my beer, I'd have the odd beer that it would just, you know, open it up and it would gush all over the place. It was infected. And each bottle is subject to a chance of an infection, of course, especially if you're putting in, you know, your brewing sugar into each bottle, like I used to do. And, you know, some people don't do it that way. They boil the sugar in a little bit of water, they'll let it cool, they'll add it to their fermenter after they've siphoned the beer into a secondary, and then they'll stir it in and then they'll bottle. That's probably a really safer way to do it, because everything remains sanitized. You know, I used to get a funnel and a spoon, and I'd be every bottle, put the sugar in, and of course, stuff's floating around, sugar's not sanitized, you know, and it can get ugly sometimes. Bottle bombs, I think is what they're called. Some people have had them. But I remember an experience I had a couple of years ago. I have two sinks back there, two laundry sinks. One of them I don't really use. It's where the washing machine drains, and, you know, it always gets all gunked up with soap, you know, all the things that come out of the washer. But there was a sponge in there, a big sponge, and I didn't know. And over time, that sponge started to get rancid, and I didn't see it because I've got a thing over top that I couldn't tell. So eventually, I started, you know, something doesn't smell right. So I found the sponge and I threw it away. However, right after that, I brewed a batch of beer. Some of you might already know this story, but I brewed a batch of beer right after that. Well, guess what was floating around in the room when I was brewing that beer? All the live little more organisms that came off of that sponge when I moved it and threw it out. So be careful about that. Clean environments. Don't take out your garbage or clean out your fridge and then brew a batch of beer in the same room. Not a good idea. So we've got to be careful of that. Now, an infected batch is probably going to be cloudy. And you'll know. If it tastes a little bit off, go ahead and drink it if you can. But if it's really infected, you'll know it. You will not be able to drink it. It'll taste like puke. It's not good. And in which case, unfortunately, you're going to have to pour it down the drain. So, but there might be mold. You can look at it. But I think the number one way to tell if your beer is infected is the smell and the taste. And if it's awful, I mean, not including, you know, some people don't like some beers. You know, I mean, I drink this stuff. I could probably give this to somebody and they might think it's terrible. And then they're going to pour it out. That's not what I'm talking about with an infection. An infection means it doesn't taste like beer at all. It's going to be disgusting. And that's how you know you have an infection. Of course, we always talk about sanitation. Star San is the product that I use. I think most of us do. Iota 4 is another one. If you guys want me to do a little recap on sanitizers and sanitizing, please let me know in the comments down below, and I will. It's been a while since I've talked about it. I used to use sodium metabisulfite, and that stuff really stinks bad, and it gets in your lungs and it makes you cough. So I stopped using it, and when Star San came along, well, thumbs up to that. So if you have questions about my sanitizing regiments, and how to use these products, let me know in the comments, and I'll cover it on one of these videos. It's pretty simple stuff, but hey, what the heck? Need content. So, on the other hand, beer's pretty robust. I mean, you don't have to, even if you didn't sanitize, 9 times out of 10, it probably wouldn't get infected. But of course, we want to take every precaution in spending our hard-earned money and our hard-earned time on brewing. You want to make sure that it works out. I sound like a teacher, school teacher. So, all right, so that's that. What else was there? Cheers. I mean, cheers the best we can with this. It does the job, it just doesn't please the palate as much as a home brew. I've got a batch going on back there right now, which is probably going to be ready in about 2 days. So hopefully I'll be kegging that up. I'm going to make a stout as well. Now the stout is just a can. It's just a pre-hopped canned kit. That's all it's going to be. So I'm just doing that. I don't have time right now to do anything fancy. We've got an inspection coming up, and I'd like to make sure that everything is apropos, if you will. I do have a plan. I've been asked this over and over again, to make a Craig's Dungeon video about all the equipment that I use to shoot my videos with and to do my cast and other gear that I've got down here that I use periodically. A lot of people have asked me for that. So for a Craig's Dungeon video, I've already got everything all set up and planned. So that will be coming out really soon, if you don't mind, if you like that series. I've been shooting videos since I was a teenager and fascinated with cameras, always. And I've gone through many camcorders, believe me, and I'll go through all the equipment, how I use it, lights, everything, to show you how I do this stuff. And I think that might be interesting to some people. So that's good. There, I got my hot water heater just came on, and water is back on again. Hey, I haven't abandoned my vinyl channel. I haven't abandoned my channels. I go through patches of time when I'm busy, and that's just hard to fit everything in. But I do try to get these out every week. So I hope you guys are doing well. I really appreciate if you thumb up my videos, turn off your ad blockers, comment down below. If you have anything you want to ask or say, I'll definitely be reading those comments in the next few days. And this is all I can really offer you this week. I'm glad to be here. Keep brewing that beer, guys. And I hope you check out my live broadcast. That's Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. That's Toronto time. vonlive.tv/CraigTube. We have a lot of fun. I try to play the greatest music I can find, and there's some really, really great people in the chat room if you do choose to go in there and chat and say hello. I have a really amazing crowd in my chat, and I'm very proud of that. So it's awesome. All right. Keep on brewing that beer. 17brewcrew.com if you have questions. They have answers, and I'm in there too. So go for it, and I'll see you guys real soon. Be safe. Keep brewing that beer, and I'll take my own advice. Thank you. Cheers.